What if 5 sacred minutes with Jesus could calm what your mind can't control, before the world spills its noise into your soul, before emails, alerts, or urgent demands? You may already feel overwhelmed. The dread starts early. It creeps in before your feet ever touch the floor. Your first waking thoughts whisper, "What if today breaks me? What if I fail again? What if I can't handle what's waiting?" These silent fears form loops of anxiety that tighten with each breath. The enemy knows the stillness of morning is powerful, and he uses it to echo your fears louder. But this stillness was never meant to be your enemy. It is a holy doorway. Right here, right now, this pause, before the world presses in, is where your surrender becomes your strength. Psalm 91 doesn't wait for your peace to be perfect. It doesn't demand that you come whole or fearless. It welcomes you at your very first tremble. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him I will trust. This is your invitation, not to fix everything, not to perform or prove, but simply to come, to be still, to let yourself be held. Even now, as these words meet your spirit, God is already drawing near. You don't have to feel prepared. You only have to be present. Picture the hand of Jesus already extended toward you, even before your eyes are fully open. He's not waiting on your perfection. He's offering His presence. His peace isn't a reward for good behavior. It's the gift of being with Him. Jakes said it clearly. Peace isn't the absence of trouble. It's the presence of Jesus in the middle of it. And right now, your middle matters. The storm in your mind doesn't scare Him. The waves don't rattle Him. The shadows that haunt your morning thoughts, He sees them and still draws near. You might not even have words this morning. Maybe all you have are sighs and tears. Maybe fears too quiet to voice. But the Spirit of God hears even those. Scripture reminds us, the Spirit Himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. Your sighs are not ignored in heaven. Your silence is not empty. It is full of God's listening. In your morning prayer, God's message isn't, "Be stronger." His message is, "Let me carry you." This day might feel like too much. Your thoughts may race, but you are not expected to face it alone. Jesus understands the human weight of dread. He carried the cross, knowing pain awaited. Yet He trusted the Father above the fear. So whisper it now, even if it feels small. "Jesus, I trust you." Say it again. Let your voice meet your fear with faith. Now, take a breath with me. Inhale deeply, let that breath be your surrender. Exhale slowly, let that breath be your release. This breath is your prayer. And as you breathe, let Psalm 23 rise within you. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. God is not a distant spectator. He walks with you through every shadow. He sits with you in the quiet. He anchors you when the world feels uncertain. This moment is not just still, it is sacred. This is your spiritual awakening. Anxiety is not your failure, it's your signal. It's the cry of your heart calling for divine closeness. Dr. Anita Phillips reminds us, your emotions are messengers, not enemies. Listen to them and lead them to Jesus. What if this morning, instead of hiding your dread, you invited Jesus into it? Let's stop trying to escape our mornings. Let's anchor them. This is not a 5-minute break from life. It's a sacred rhythm that sets the tone for your entire day. Morning surrender leads to all-day stability. You don't need to fix everything right now. You don't need all the answers. You simply need to be found by the one who holds the answers and the day itself. Speak this aloud with me now. God, I surrender this day into your hands. Let not my fear lead my steps, but your Spirit breathe that truth in. Let it fill the places that panic has tried to occupy. Let peace move into the rooms fear once owned. Philippians 4 encourages us, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. Let your requests be made known to God. You're doing that. Right now, in this sacred stillness, you are making your requests known, and God is listening. So before we move forward, pause and reflect. Where does your anxiety show up in the morning? Is it in your chest, your thoughts, your schedule? What would it look like to invite Jesus into those exact places, right there, where your dread hides? If you truly believed God walks with you today, how would that change your pace, your posture, your prayers? Now affirm these truths out loud. Let your own voice rise with faith. God is my safe place and my steady guide. Jesus speaks peace over my mind. This day belongs to God, not to my fears. Say it again until your heart begins to believe it, because it's true. Even now, God is with you. This morning is holy. You are not alone. If this first part has calmed even one corner of your soul, don't rush away. There are 20 more parts waiting to take you deeper. God isn't finished. He's still speaking. He's still strengthening you. Let me pray for you now. May the peace of Christ settle over you like morning dew, soft, quiet, and undeniable. You are seen. You are safe. You are held. In Jesus' name, amen. There are mornings when anxiety greets us before the sunlight does, wrapping tightly around our chest before we can take our first deep breath. The day hasn't even begun, yet our hearts are already racing, our minds rehearsing every possible scenario, every potential failure. And if we're honest, it's not just one thing, it's everything. The decisions, the expectations, the demands waiting before we've even had a chance to rise. This is not weakness. It is a moment rich with spiritual potential. Anxiety tells us we are alone, but Psalm 91 whispers back a promise. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. You are not called to conquer this day in your own strength. You are called to dwell in His presence, in His peace, in His protection. This morning, let your breath become your prayer. With each inhale, receive His nearness. With each exhale, release the dread that's been trying to write your day's story. This moment is not about pretending you're okay. It's about knowing you're not alone. Jesus is already here, kneeling beside your bed, waiting in the silence, holding you in the stillness. He does not scold your fears or rush you through your struggle. He simply stays, and He reminds you, peace isn't something you chase, it's someone you trust. Lisa Vivere captured it beautifully. Peace isn't a feeling we chase, it's a person we trust. As your thoughts spiral and your chest tightens, remember that Jesus doesn't demand bravery. He invites honesty. You don't have to fake calm, you simply have to be with Him. Isaiah 26:3 gives us a lifeline. You will keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you, because he trusts in you. That kind of peace isn't the denial of chaos, it's the presence of God in the very heart of it. This is your morning prayer. Not to fix the unknown, but to lean into the one who already holds it. The weight you feel is real, but so is God's covering. You are not asked to carry it alone. Psalm 91 doesn't ask you to earn His refuge. It opens the door the moment your breath trembles. Because you have made the Lord your refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place, no evil shall befall you. This isn't poetic comfort. It's a spiritual inheritance. It's a promise sealed in God's nature, not your strength. Morning anxiety does not disqualify you from this promise. It positions you to receive it. Let that truth settle into the deepest part of your spirit. You are not a problem to solve. You are a soul to be loved, guided, and protected. Even now, you are being gently held by the one who knows your day from start to finish. Some days it's not a crisis that overwhelms us, but the crowd of unknowns pressing in from every direction. We brace for disappointment, anticipate exhaustion, and fear we won't be enough. But Matthew 6:34 meets us in this space. Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about its own things. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. God's message isn't to ignore your reality, it's to anchor you in present grace. What if today's peace doesn't come from your effort, but from your alignment with God? Pope Leo XIII once wrote, "The heart most at rest is the one most surrendered to divine providence." You don't need every moment of this day to make sense. You just need these 5 minutes to realign your heart. In this breath, in this pause, God is already leading you gently through the storm. Now let today's prayer rise slowly from your soul. God, I don't feel brave, but I trust you. I surrender the things I cannot predict, control, or fix. Be my shield, be my guide, be my stillness. Let this be the song your soul sings all day long, not a cry for control, but a rhythm of surrender. You're not just surviving the day, you're walking it out with the shepherd of Psalm 23. He knows the valley, he knows the shadows, and he is never intimidated by them. His rod and his staff, they comfort you. You don't have to make your path perfect. You only have to follow the one who already sees what's ahead. Your dread doesn't scare him. Your doubt doesn't surprise him, and your fatigue doesn't repel him. He is near to the weary, near to the brokenhearted, near to you. Before we go further, take one more sacred pause. What are the fears trying to hijack today's narrative? What if you trusted Jesus with those very scripts? Where do you need God to interrupt your anxiety with truth? Speak these affirmations now, not just to declare them, but to believe them. God's peace is greater than my pressure. This day is not mine to control, it is His to guide. Even in my anxious thoughts, I am held by God's presence. Let these truths become your spiritual armor. Let your surrender be your strength. This morning is not a burden, it is a beginning, a fresh space for trust to take root and peace to rise. If your soul feels even slightly steadier, don't rush away. There is more healing ahead. Let's continue deeper into God's message of refuge, of guidance, and of peace. The morning hours can often feel like the most spiritual battleground of the day. Before you've spoken to anyone, your mind has already had a dozen conversations, each one filled with worry, self-doubt, and silent questions about your worth and capacity. You wonder if you can handle it again. You wonder if the peace you found yesterday was just a moment, not a pattern. This is where anxiety takes its most subtle form, not in panic, but in the quiet dread that your peace is temporary and fragile. But God's message today is this: His peace is not a mood, it is a covenant. Psalm 91 does not say, "He who feels strong shall overcome." It says, "He who dwells." You don't need to be powerful, you need to be present. The power is in the presence. Dr. Anita Phillips reminds us, peace is not the absence of emotion, it's the spiritual fruit of connection. Connection with God, even for 5 minutes, can regulate the anxiety that wants to dysregulate your whole day. And that connection begins with honesty. God, I feel like I'm already behind before the day begins. That confession is not weakness, it's worship. It's a holy surrender. It acknowledges what's true. You were never meant to carry your world alone. And in that space, you invite the Comforter into your cluttered mind and your heavy heart. Philippians 4 gives us the way through. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. So pause here. What is your request this morning? It doesn't have to be poetic. It just has to be real. God, help me not to break today. God, help me not to fear what hasn't even happened yet. These prayers move heaven. They break through the silence and create space for God's peace to enter like a whisper and stay like a shield. This is not about pretending you're okay. This is about practicing presence. God's presence. If you've ever whispered, "Jesus, I need you," while brushing your teeth, while driving in silence, or while lying awake dreading the day, you are not alone. Countless believers walk the same emotional terrain, quietly battling fear before sunrise. But Psalm 91 stands like a lighthouse for the anxious. It doesn't shift with your moods. It stands steady. He shall cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you shall take refuge. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. Picture that, the eternal God pulling you under his wings, not to hide your anxiety, but to heal it. Jesus isn't distant from your panic. He is seated beside you, speaking peace into every swirling thought. Lisa Bever once said, "God's strength flows best through those who refuse to fake it." So don't fake it. Come as you are. Tremble, cry, breathe, but come. God doesn't need your calm. He desires your closeness. Say this morning prayer aloud or silently. God, I welcome you into my emotions, even the messy ones. I trust you more than I trust my fear. Guard my heart and mind with your peace. And in that act of surrender, you are participating in a miracle. Anxiety turning into trust, fear yielding to faith. You may still feel the tremble, but you are not ruled by it. You are ruled by the Spirit of the living God, who says in Isaiah 41:10, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God." Your trembling is not a failure of faith. It's the very place where faith begins. The Lord sees your frailty and meets it with compassion. He does not ask you to be flawless. He asks you to be faithful. Faithful to come, faithful to believe. He will meet you in the morning. Faithful to choose trust over tension, presence over panic. Now, let's reflect. What thought has tried to define your morning already? Can you offer that thought to Jesus right now? What would it look like to begin this day from a place of trust instead of tension? Take a breath and speak these affirmations over your soul. God is present in my first breath and my last worry. Peace is not beyond me. Peace is within me through Christ. I may feel weak, but I am not forsaken. These are not just words. They are weapons. Let them arm you for today's journey. Wrap them around your anxious thoughts and declare them as truth. This is how peace is planted. One prayer at a time, one breath at a time, one whispered trust at a time. And as you take your next step into the day, remember this: you are walking covered. Jesus goes before you, walks beside you, and guards behind you. Peace is your inheritance. Take hold of it. Sometimes the pressure to have faith feels heavier than the fear itself. You wake up already feeling behind, emotionally exhausted, spiritually unsure, mentally overwhelmed. You don't question whether God is real, but you quietly wonder if he will meet you in this exact moment. This specific anxiety, this weight that settles before the day even begins. And in that ache, a fragile question rises. Does faith still count if I'm scared while choosing it? The answer from God's word is a gentle but resounding yes. Psalm 91 is not a chapter for the unshakable. It is a refuge for those being shaken. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in him I will trust. It doesn't begin with confidence, it begins with declaration. The psalmist speaks before he feels safe. He declares trust while still surrounded by fear, and this is your invitation too, not to wait for the fear to leave, but to speak trust into the center of it. Jesus understands the storm of your emotions. He knows what it feels like to be overwhelmed. In the Garden of Gethsemane, he said, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death." Yet, he stayed, he prayed, he surrendered. He didn't escape the fear, he brought it into communion with the Father. Dr. Anita Phillips reminds us, faith isn't denial, it's divine direction in the presence of fear. That means your fear is not proof of failure. It's a signal to connect. This morning, don't shove the worry aside. Don't pretend it's not real. Instead, bring it to the altar. Say quietly, Jesus, I'm afraid, but I am still yours. That single sentence becomes a sanctuary. That whisper becomes a song of trust. You don't need loud faith today. You need rooted faith, deep enough to hold even when you're trembling. You don't have to make the fear vanish to begin your day. You only need to place it in God's hands. That simple act shifts the atmosphere of your soul. Philippians 4:7 promises us this, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. Peace guarding your mind, like a divine soldier standing at the door, pushing back the lies and panic that try to get in. Not a fleeting feeling, but a standing presence. You might still feel the tremble, but peace will carry you. Why? Because it's not something you create. It's something God gives. You don't earn it with perfect prayers. You inherit it because you are His child. You can whisper, "Abba, Father," with a shaking voice and still be heard. Let your prayer rise now. Lord, I choose to trust you in this moment. Even when fear speaks louder than faith, I turn to you. Be my peace, my anchor, my breath. In saying this, you're not dismissing your fear. You're placing it where it belongs. This is not a performance. This is placement. You are placing your spirit in the shelter of God. You are putting your fears into His hands. Pope Leo the Cacord once said, "Peace is not given to the strong, but to the surrendered." Your surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. You don't have to get it all right. You only need to get close to the one who holds your heart together when everything else feels undone. So now, pause and reflect. What fear has tried to write the script of your morning? What thought has risen first and loudest today? Offer that to Jesus. Picture Him standing in your room, reaching for your burden with open arms. Let Him carry what you were never meant to hold. Speak these truths aloud or in your heart. I choose trust, even in trembling. God holds me when I cannot hold myself. Peace is my inheritance in Christ. These are not just comforting lines, they are spiritual weapons. They are anchors for your spirit and melodies for your morning. In them, you are recentering your soul in truth. In them, the atmosphere of your heart shifts. Even if the storm outside still swirls, the storm within can be calmed. This morning is not about being fearless. It's about being faithful. Faithful to whisper His name. Faithful to surrender your weight. Faithful to believe, even shakily, that He is with you. And He is. Jesus goes before you, walks beside you, and guards behind you. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. And you are not without peace. Peace is your inheritance. Take hold of it and let it lead you gently through this day. There's a quiet moment in every anxious morning when you must choose. Will I follow my fear, or will I follow my faith? It's so small it can slip past unnoticed, nestled between waking and reaching for your phone, between brushing your teeth and hearing that internal whisper, "You're not ready for this day." But heaven sees that moment, not to condemn, but to invite. It's an invitation to step into a rhythm not ruled by worry, but led by word. Psalm 91 begins with this sacred simplicity. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. It doesn't say he who wakes up strong, or he who never feels fear. It says he who dwells. The power is not in your ability to conquer the day in one breath. It's in your choice to return to God's shelter. That's where fear begins to soften, not because you ignore it, but because you remember who holds you. Trust in God isn't a one-time proclamation. It's a daily decision, often made in the quiet, mundane details of life. The first sip of coffee, the weight of your calendar, the headlines and the messages waiting. Each moment can pull you deeper into panic, or it can pause you just long enough to realign your soul. Lisa Bavia reminds us, our emotional state is not the enemy. Our disconnection from truth is. You may be feeling dread not because you're broken, but because you're human. And that's okay. The remedy isn't always a plan. Often, it's a person. Jesus doesn't give you a map to escape every fear. He gives you His hand. Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Not rest that comes after everything's fixed, but rest that starts with a still soul, even when the storm rages on. And maybe this morning, the strongest prayer you can offer is the simplest one: Jesus, help. Not eloquent, not rehearsed, just raw. That is not the absence of faith, it's the purest form of it. Psalm 23 reminds us, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." Even when your steps feel shaky and the shadows seem long, His presence is still guiding. Restoration may not rush in with thunder, it may come as quiet breathing, as your soul slowly remembers to whom it belongs. You belong to the one who speaks peace into storms and healing into fragility. Psalm 91 is not just poetic comfort, it is a holy promise. His wings are your hiding place, His truth is your shield. And when anxiety presses in, your refuge is to press deeper into Him. Let your heart breathe this prayer now. God, I don't know what today holds, but I know who holds me. I will not be driven by fear, but drawn by your voice. Lead me beside still waters. Restore my soul. That isn't wishful thinking. That is the reality of the Psalms. Spiritual maturity doesn't mean you never tremble. It means you know where to turn when you do. D.D. Jakes said, "Your greatest breakthrough will often be found just past your greatest fear." So don't skip this moment. Don't rush to fake strength. Let your breakthrough begin not with noise, but with stillness. Not with a roar, but with rest. The voice of God is not in the earthquake or fire. It's in the whisper. Now pause and reflect. What voices have been trying to write the script of your morning? What if, instead, Jesus had the loudest voice in your day? What does dwelling in the secret place look like in your life today? In your commute, in your office, in your parenting, in your silence? Speak these truths over your heart right now. I am not a prisoner of fear. God's peace governs my spirit. Even in the unknown, I am not alone. These are not just affirmations. They are anchors. They hold you in place when life pulls hard. And they are not meant for someday. They're for this breath, this moment, this morning. Let them settle into your soul and take root, because yes, the day may still roar, the schedule may still stretch you, the unknowns may still whisper, but in the center of it all, your spirit can remain still. This is your sacred starting place, not the absence of fear, but the presence of faith, not a demand to be unshaken, but an invitation to dwell. Dwell, not just once, but continually, in the peace of the Most High, and there, in that holy stillness, you will find your strength. An anxious morning can feel like being dropped into the middle of a story without a script. Your thoughts sprint ahead, rehearsing failure, predicting disaster, spinning worst-case scenarios until they sound like truth. You may still be lying in bed, but your spirit is already bracing for impact. And in that sacred, fragile moment, God whispers a better beginning. Peace. Be still. That whisper isn't reserved for raging seas. It's for your nervous system, your clenched muscles, your overwhelmed mind. Psalm 91 gently calls you to a different rhythm. He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. It doesn't ask you to perform calmness. It invites you to dwell, not sprint, not strive, just dwell. Your rescue this morning isn't in a new strategy, it's in your Savior, Jesus, who is already waiting to meet you in the chaos you can't name. There's a lie anxiety loves to tell. It all depends on you. That if you don't plan, fix, or panic hard enough, something will break. But Jesus counters that voice in Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Rest is not something you earn, it's something you enter. And even 5 sacred minutes of surrender can begin to unravel the spiral. It doesn't have to look impressive. It can look like tears while brushing your teeth. It can look like staring at the ceiling with one scripture held tightly in your heart. Lisa Bevere says stillness is not weakness, it is strength under sacred control. What if your stillness today was your strongest weapon? You don't need to win an argument with your fear. You just need to fix your attention. Shift it from the what ifs to the who is. Jesus, the author and perfecter of your faith, not the author of your fear. And he's offering you peace that doesn't make sense, but deeply protects. So let's re-anchor now, not with polished prayers, but with honest ones. Whisper it if you need to. God, I feel fragile, but I choose faith. I surrender what I cannot manage and invite you to reign where I can't reach. This is where spiritual peace begins, in truthful surrender. You may not be able to change everything about your day, but you can change your posture. Let the posture of panic give way to the posture of prayer. Philippians 4 promises, and the peace of God which surpasses all understanding will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. But peace doesn't guard a closed heart, it guards a surrendered one. So bring your real requests to Him now. Lord, I'm afraid of this meeting. I'm overwhelmed by what's ahead. I don't want to fail again. God doesn't shrink from your vulnerability, He draws near to it. And when He answers, it's not always with a fix, it's with Himself. Let this be your morning prayer. Father, steady my mind. Protect my heart from false narratives. I receive your peace today. Guard me as I walk into the unknown. In this moment, you're not just preparing for your day, you're partnering with God in it. Jake Jakes once said, "The enemy attacks your morning because it's the seedbed of your day, but God meets you there with manna, not pressure. Manna, just enough for today. You don't need to gather more than you need. You don't need to impress Him to be fed. You only need to show up, and you already have." That's the miracle of morning prayer. We come undone, and God draws near. He holds what we cannot. He steadies what feels unsteady, and in that stillness, He begins to strengthen. Now pause and breathe. What anxious expectation can you release right now? What if the key to peace isn't solving the problem, but walking with God through it? What if your greatest power today lies in the choice to be still, even when nothing else is? Speak these affirmations over your heart. God is already in my future. I will walk this day covered by mercy. Anxiety will not write my story. Faith will. Let these truths become the language you begin your day with, not just your fallback when things unravel. These words are not decoration. They are armor. They're the soundtrack of your stillness, and in that stillness, you are made strong. Some mornings feel like waking up under a weight you never asked for, an invisible heaviness that presses against your chest before your feet even touch the floor. You wonder why sleep didn't bring restoration, why the night didn't reset your peace, and so you brace yourself. You summon strength from somewhere, even though it feels like your spirit is still curled up in yesterday's tension. This is the moment where Psalm 91 meets you, not as an escape hatch, but as a holy refuge. Because you have made the Lord your dwelling place, no evil shall befall you. That promise doesn't eliminate today's challenges. It ensures you'll never face them alone. Your true dwelling is not your stress. Your shelter is not your strategy. Your covering is God Himself. And right now, yes, even in this tired, tangled morning, He is near. Nearer than the fear-whispering lies in your mind. He is not a distant deity. He's in this very breath, wrapping you in the security of His presence, whispering, "You're safe here." Anxiety doesn't always roar. Sometimes it trickles like a leaky faucet, persistent, subtle, draining. It tells you you're already behind, that you're not enough, that you're unqualified for what the day might ask of you. But none of those are the words of your shepherd. Psalm 23 declares, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." That includes your need for strength, your need for peace, your need for clarity in the chaos. Jesus knows what it's like to carry the weight of constant need, to walk through crowds of expectation, and yet, He withdrew. He retreated to quiet spaces, not because He lacked strength, but because He honored sacred stillness. Lisa Biver says, "Rest is resistance against the rush of fear." And so, when you pause, just for 5 minutes, you are resisting the tide of anxiety. You're not running from fear. You're returning to your refuge. And that return doesn't make you weaker. It makes you spiritually fierce. It opens your heart to the one who already holds the whole day. So let your breath become your bridge. Inhale peace, exhale panic. Let your first act of the day not be performance, but placement. Lord, I place my anxiety in your hands. I place my plans, my fears, and my hopes in your care. Govern my day with your goodness. That's not emotional control. That's worship. It's surrendering your inner chaos to the throne of grace, where grace always responds. Pope Leo the Chaos wrote, "There is no shame in the soul that trembles and still chooses trust." And this morning, that's exactly what you're doing. You're choosing to trust God not because it's easy, but because it's your lifeline. Trusting that God sees the full picture when you can only glimpse fragments. Trusting that He walks ahead of you into spaces where you fear to go. Trusting that His peace isn't delayed, it's waiting at the door of surrender. Let's pause here. What fear is quietly steering your morning narrative? What would shift if you truly believed God was already cradling your entire day in His sovereign hands? And how would it feel to release control, not as defeat, but as divine alignment? Say these affirmations out loud or in the stillness of your heart. My peace does not depend on my circumstances. God is with me in every breath. I will not be led by fear. I am led by faith. These aren't just phrases. They are declarations of identity. You are a child of God, and children don't carry the burden alone. They rest in their Father's presence. This is your invitation to stop rushing and start abiding, to trade fear's grip for the Father's embrace. So let this morning be the beginning of holy rest. Let it carry you through today, not rushed but rooted, not afraid but aligned, not empty but filled. You are not navigating this day alone. You're walking with the Shepherd under the wings of the Almighty. That's more than enough. That's peace. There are mornings when you wake not to the sound of your alarm, but to the sound of worry, loud and insistent, pulsing through your chest. Before your eyes even fully open, your mind is already running ahead, trying to predict, prevent, and prepare for every possible problem. It's a silent internal race toward a sense of safety, but instead of peace, it leaves you exhausted. Anxiety is cunning. It often disguises itself as responsibility, whispering that if you don't handle everything, everything will fall apart. But God's truth interrupts that spiral, not with shame, but with steady love. Philippians 4 reminds us, "Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God." And what happens next? The peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. That peace isn't something you earn by holding it together. It's a gift you receive when you simply show up with your whole heart, messy, trembling, and real. God's message this morning is tender and true. You don't have to carry the weight of tomorrow today. Jesus says in Matthew 6:34, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself." Each day has enough trouble of its own. This isn't just advice. It's a freedom decree. It's an invitation to release what was never meant to be yours. The dread, the deadlines, the doubt, they do not define you or your day. Not when you begin it in His presence. Dr. Anita Phillips teaches that emotional healing doesn't start by avoiding what we feel, but by allowing God to meet us in it. That means your anxiety doesn't disqualify you from spiritual peace. It positions you to receive it. Psalm 91 doesn't promise a danger-free life. It promises divine covering in the midst of it. He shall cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you shall take refuge. Even now, as you read these words, those wings are already stretched over you. So this is your invitation. Pray, not to perform, but to place your trust where it belongs. Say it simply and sincerely. Lord, I bring you my first fears, not my final efforts. Be my refuge before I rise. Govern my thoughts before I move. Let my day begin in your shadow, not in my stress. This is more than morning routine, it's sacred defiance. It's your 5-minute declaration that fear does not own the opening of your day. T.D. Jakes reminds us, the enemy fights the hardest where the blessing will flow the deepest. That's why your mornings feel like a battlefield. Because peace in you today could change everything. It could transform your presence in every room you enter. It could begin the unraveling of years of fear. And it starts not with control, but with surrender to the one who already holds it all. Now pause, breathe. What is the loudest lie anxiety is whispering to you this morning? Is it that you're not ready? That you'll fail? That it all depends on you? Whatever it is, let the truth of God replace it. You are not alone. You are not unprepared. You are not fragile. You are held. Protect the first 5 minutes of your day. Let them be sacred, let them be still. Let them be yours and God's alone. And from that space, declare these truths as shields over your spirit. I will not enter this day unarmed. God's peace is my defense. I dwell in safety, not scarcity. My future is not fragile. It is held by God. Let these words become your rhythm. Let them center your soul. Let them carry you into this day with quiet boldness. You are not facing the world alone. You are walking beneath wings, and the wind beneath those wings is not your effort, your energy, or your plan. It is the Spirit of God Himself. Breathe deeply. You are covered, you are guided, you are loved. Let this morning be your altar, your quiet beginning in the arms of peace. Sometimes, anxiety disguises itself as preparation. You wake up and your mind immediately gets to work, planning, solving, analyzing, rehearsing conversations, trying to build security through control. It feels responsible, but beneath that flurry of thoughts is a quiet panic whispering, if I stop thinking, everything will fall apart. That belief is exhausting, and it's not from God. Scripture doesn't tell you to prepare for every outcome. It tells you to trust the one who already knows the outcome. Psalm 91 doesn't say, "You are your own fortress." It says, "He is my refuge and my fortress." That changes everything. Your job isn't to carry the weight of the day. Your calling is to abide in the one who already is. And the first 5 minutes of your morning are sacred, holy space to realign your heart with truth. This isn't about neglecting responsibility, it's about restoring spiritual order. God first, peace first, presence first. You were never created to be your own protector. That's God's role, and He's never failing at it. Anxiety grows in the absence of trust. When we forget who God is, we try to become Him, shouldering every burden, rehearsing every outcome, preparing for things that may never happen. But Isaiah 26:3 brings us back. You will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you, because he trusts in you. Trust isn't passive, it's intentional and fiercely active. It's choosing moment by moment to bring your spiraling thoughts back to truth. God is in control. God is with me. God is not surprised by this day. That kind of trust doesn't magically appear in the big moments. It's trained in the small ones. These quiet, anxious mornings. Pope Leo XIII said, "The soul that trains itself to trust in small things will find God already present in great trials." Don't waste your morning energy trying to outrun your thoughts. Use it to return. Let your prayer be your anchor, not your afterthought. So pray with bold honesty. Lord, I surrender my need to predict and protect. I receive the peace you promised, not because of my strength, but because of your faithfulness. Govern my day from beginning to end. That prayer isn't weakness, it's strength surrendered. Lisa Bevere says, "The world doesn't need more perfect people, it needs more present people." And your presence doesn't begin by mastering your to-do list. It begins by entering God's presence. You don't need every answer today. You need to be anchored, and from that anchoring comes authority. Not the kind that controls everything around you, but the kind that calms everything within you. You become peace in the storm, not because you're never shaken, but because you know where to go when you are. Now, take a sacred pause, reflect. What are you trying to manage today that God hasn't asked you to carry? What would it look like to trust Him with those burdens, those outcomes, those conversations? Where can you shift from control to communion? Speak these affirmations as realignments of your spirit. God's faithfulness is greater than my fear. I release what I cannot control into God's capable hands. Peace is my portion, not panic. These are not just comforting phrases, they are foundations. Let them echo through your thoughts. Let them shape your decisions. Let them become the rhythm of your day. You don't have to plan your way to peace. You only need to pray your way to the Prince of Peace. He's already here, already holding what you were never meant to carry, already speaking stillness to your soul. Rest in that, begin there, and carry that peace forward into your day, not as a fragile hope, but as your spiritual reality. There are mornings when even silence feels loud, when the stillness before the world wakes up becomes a stage for every fear to perform. Thoughts you never welcomed begin speaking with unnatural authority. You're not ready. You'll mess it up again. Nothing's going to change. And as those voices echo through the early quiet, your sense of safety begins to shrink. You might try to outthink them, to breathe through them, to reason your way back to peace, but none of that is enough when your soul needs truth more than tactics. Psalm 91 gives us that truth in language that doesn't flinch. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. It doesn't say your strength, it doesn't say your schedule, it says His faithfulness. That means your peace isn't tied to your performance or your plan, it's tied to the character of God, who cannot fail. So these early minutes, these sacred 5, aren't just about calming down. They're about choosing where you dwell. Will you live today under the weight of worry or under the wings of the Almighty? That decision starts not with performance, but with presence, with honesty. Philippians 4:6-7 gives us the divine pattern. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Look closely. Peace doesn't precede the prayer, it follows it, so you don't need to feel peace before you pray. You pray your way into peace. Say to Him right now, God, I don't feel okay. I don't feel in control, but I trust that you are. That's not weakness. That's warfare. You are dismantling the lie that your future depends entirely on you. Pope Leo the Cordova once wrote, "The heart that bows low before God will never be crushed by the weight of the world." That's more than a quote. It's when you surrender your fears before the throne of grace, their grip breaks. The storm may continue, but your soul is anchored. Remember, your emotions are not the measure of your faith. They're not signs of failure. Dr. Anita Phillips teaches us that feelings are signals. They're invitations, not indictments. If your heart is heavy this morning, it's not a red flag. It's a doorway to conversation. So, if you're grieving, say it. If you're nervous, name it. God is not drawn to your perfection. He's drawn to your open. He's already aware of your anxious thoughts, and when you bring them into His presence, you allow Him to be the Father He longs to be. The God who draws near, the shepherd who leads gently, the refuge who doesn't shake. Choosing to start your morning with Him, before the rush, before the noise, isn't just wise, it's holy. It changes the spiritual temperature of your day. Now breathe. Pause. Reflect. What thought has been shaping your morning? What fear has been sitting on the throne of your focus? And what truth do you need to replace it with right now? Don't wait until the chaos builds. Anchor yourself now. Speak these affirmations over your spirit, even if they tremble on your lips. I do not enter this day unguarded. God goes before me. His peace is my protection and my portion, I don't need full clarity to walk confidently. I just need full trust. These are not just pretty words, they are spiritual weapons. Use them. Let them form the soundtrack of your stillness, because this morning is not a crisis, it's a covenant. You're not walking into confusion. You're waking into a relationship with the one who has already gone before you. The keeper of your soul is here, and his presence changes everything. There is a moment, so small yet so sacred, right before your morning truly begins, when your spirit whispers for something steady. Before the world clamors for your attention, before your feet hit the floor, there's a subtle stirring inside. But sometimes it's not peace that meets you first, it's pressure. The mind rushes in with reminders of what's undone, what's uncertain, what feels impossible. Fear becomes the loudest voice in the room, even when the room is silent. But Psalm 91 teaches us something radical. You don't have to be fearless to speak faith. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him I will trust. That's not an afterthought. It's an anchor, a choice, a declaration. Not based on how you feel, but based on who God is. When fear speaks, you don't stay silent. You say of the Lord. That's the spiritual strategy of your morning. Speak truth into trembling. Declare faith over fear. Anchor yourself before anxiety gets to define the day. God's message today is not pretend you're okay. It's bringing me you're not okay. He isn't asking for your calm composure. He's offering His covering. It's in your unrest that His rest becomes most real. Philippians 4:6-7 reminds you, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything let your request be made known to God, and the peace of God will guard your hearts and minds. The word guard here is not poetic, it's protective. It means God's peace doesn't merely soothe, it surrounds, like a fortress, like a shield. And you don't have to feel worthy to step into it. You just need to be willing to admit where it hurts, willing to let go of control, willing to stay your mind on Him. Isaiah 26:3 says, "You will keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you, because he trusts in you." This kind of peace is not the absence of noise, it's the presence of Christ within the noise, and He is already here. So begin your day with a prayer that's not polished, but powerful. Lord, I don't feel brave, but I choose You. I give You the places that feel exposed and uncertain. I hide myself in Your word. Wrap me in Your mercy. Guard me with Your nearness. That prayer is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's warfare. Lisa Bevere says peace is not a personality trait, it's a weapon. When you choose peace, you are doing more than calming down, you are standing up in the Spirit. And when you make the decision to dwell in the secret place of the Most High, you are not escaping life's realities, you are entering its deepest truth. God is still in control. He is not watching from afar. He is covering you with His wings, and under them you find rest. Now pause and listen inwardly. What emotion is fighting to lead your day? What fear has tried to sit on the throne of your morning? And what would it look like to hand that emotion to Jesus? First, before the schedule, before the screen, before the swirl. Speak these truths aloud, or let them settle softly into your soul. Jesus is my first shelter today. I will not fear what the day may bring, for God walks with me. My mind is guarded by divine peace, not my own performance. These words are not bandages, they are battle cries. They remind you who you are, whose you are, and where your safety truly lies. You are not waking into chaos, you are waking into covenant. You are not rising into uncertainty, you are rising into divine covering. And the one who promised to never leave you, He's already in the room, already holding your day, already whispering, "You are safe here." There are mornings when the hardest part is not the noise, but the stillness, the quiet that holds all the unfinished things, the memories that didn't get resolved, the conversations you never had, the things you prayed for but haven't seen yet. It isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's just heavy. a soul weight that doesn't shout, but quietly sinks. And in that silence, you wonder if God sees it, if He's near. Psalm 91 answers with certainty. He will rescue you from every trap and protect you from deadly disease, not just diseases of the body, but the soul, despair, disillusionment, dread. God sees what wears you down and meets you in the middle of it. You don't need to untangle everything before entering His presence. You only need to arrive. That's it. That's the start. One breath of surrender, one moment of honesty, and that's where the miracle begins. Not in clarity, but in connection. You don't have to feel strong. You just have to remember you're not alone. It's a lie that you must clean up your mind before you can come to God, that you have to be calm before you're welcome in His presence. That's not the gospel. That's pressure masquerading as holiness. The truth is better. God doesn't ask for tidiness. He asks for truth. In everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. That's Philippians 4:6. And it's your permission to begin exactly where you are. You don't need the right words, just real ones. God, I'm overwhelmed. God, I don't know what's next. God, I showed up. That's worship. That's faith. Dr. Anita Phillips calls vulnerability sacred courage. It's not weakness, it's strength on its knees. And that posture, the one that feels the most exposed, is where heaven bends low. God draws near not when you've perfected the prayer, but when you've risked honesty in His presence. So pray like this today. Jesus, I bring you the weight I don't know how to carry. I give you the ache I can't articulate and the pressure I can't put down. Be my calm, be my compass, be my clarity. This isn't just a sentence, it's a doorway. It's your spiritual permission to stop striving and start receiving. Psalm 23 says, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies," not when they're gone, not after you've conquered the thoughts. Right there, in the battle, at the table, while the lies still whisper, while the shame still lingers, while the questions still ache. You're still invited. You belong there, especially in your trembling. T.D. Jakes said, "The presence of pressure does not mean the absence of purpose, and the purpose is unfolding even now. In your willingness to pause, in your choice to trust, in your breath that becomes a bridge to peace." Now ask yourself, gently, what have I been carrying in silence? What emotion, unspoken, is taking up too much space in my soul? And what would it look like to hand that weight to God right now? Not when I feel ready, but simply because He's trustworthy. Speak these truths even through the weariness. I am not too broken to receive peace. God is not overwhelmed by what overwhelms me. I walk in divine strength, even when I feel weak. These are not just affirmations. They are anchors. They are reminders of a reality deeper than your fear. That God is still here, that His peace is still available, that this day can still be holy, and not because you fix it, but because He's already filling it with grace. One moment at a time, one truth at a time. There are some mornings when you don't need a checklist or a challenge. You need a moment to breathe, a holy pause before the pace picks up. Because the pressure didn't wait for your alarm. It arrived early, dressed as responsibility, wrapped in expectations. And most of those expectations didn't come from others. They came from you. You ask yourself, am I enough today? Can I meet the standard I've set? And beneath it all is a whisper more sacred than any to-do list. God, can you still use me, even when I feel like this? The answer from heaven is not vague. It is as clear as the promise in Psalm 91. Because He loves me, says the Lord, I will rescue him. I will protect him, for he acknowledges my name. This is not a contract for the flawless. It's a covenant for the faithful, the ones who may feel weak but still turn toward God. Even if all you can say this morning is, Jesus, I need you. That's enough. That's the door opening. That's the promise applied. Your anxiety is not a sign that you're failing spiritually. It's a signal that your soul is crying out for rest, and the answer is not productivity, it's presence. Jesus' invitation in Matthew 11:28 is not a task list, it's a welcome. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. That includes you, the version of you that's tired, unsure, and wrestling with invisible weight. You don't need to muster up confidence to meet with God. You only need to bring your honesty. Dr. Anita Phillips reminds us that honesty is not the enemy of faith, it's the entryway to healing. Your confession isn't failure, it's formation. It's what makes room for grace. So instead of pushing through the pressure, pause. Let that pause be a sacred surrender. Let your weary heart speak, even if the words are few. Jesus, I feel scattered today. Jesus, I feel like I'm already behind. Jesus, please carry me. That is not weakness, that is worship. Let your morning prayer be one of release, not resistance. Say this with gentleness and sincerity. Father, I give you the need to prove something. I give you the voice that says I'm not enough. I give you the pressure I've placed on myself. Steady me with your spirit. Surround me with your peace. This is the kind of prayer that changes the pace of your day. It slows your breath. It silences your inner critic. It reminds you that you are not called to control everything. You're called to commune with the one who does. Psalm 23 doesn't command urgency, it offers rest. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. Let that be the image you carry today. Not hustle, but holding. Not striving, but stillness. Your role isn't to lead yourself through the day. It's to follow the shepherd who restores you. As you go, pause now and reflect. Where have I placed pressure where God only asked for presence? What would shift if I believed I was already enough before I did anything? What might change if I measured my day by grace instead of performance? Now speak these truths aloud, or let them sink deep into your spirit. I am not what I produce. I am who God has called. My value is steady, even when my emotions aren't. God's grace holds me even in the places I feel undone. These are not temporary comforts. They are eternal truths. Let them echo louder than the lies. Let them carry you through meetings, decisions, moments of doubt. Because you are not running this day alone. You are not navigating it without guidance. You are not unloved, unheld, or unseen. You are wrapped in grace. You are strengthened by mercy. And you are enough, not because of what you bring to God, but because of who He is to you. And that is more than enough to begin your day. There are mornings when anxiety doesn't arrive with thunder. It slips in quietly, like fog at dawn. It settles into your bones before you even realize it's there. You open your eyes and something just feels off. Not dramatic, just uneasy, as if your peace has been tampered with. Not stolen, but slowly drained. Your mind starts to move faster than your body, chasing down every potential problem, scanning the horizon for things that haven't even happened yet. That low hum of worry is subtle, but it's powerful, and it's familiar. But so is God's presence. Psalm 91:11 says, He will command His angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways, not just the paths you walk physically, but the inner terrain of your emotions, the winding roads of your thoughts, the shaky bridges of your feelings, all your ways. That includes this morning haze, this unexplainable anxiety, this quiet, heavy beginning. You are not alone here. Angels are already on assignment. You don't need to silence the hum before you pray. You don't need to wait for calm before you call on God. That's not how divine comfort works. You call in the middle of it, and that's where peace meets you. Isaiah 41:10 says, Do not fear, for I am with you. I will strengthen you and help you. This is not a command to feel nothing. It's a reminder that you are never facing your feelings without help. You can feel afraid and still be held. You can feel uncertain and still be anchored. Dr. Anita Phillips teaches us that emotions are not enemies, they're messengers, and when we pause long enough to listen, we often hear the whisper of God behind them, "Let me in." You don't need to spiritualize your struggle. You only need to invite the Spirit into it. When you do, something shifts. The weight doesn't always vanish, but it lifts just enough for grace to get in, and that grace strengthens you from the inside out. So pray this morning with honest simplicity. Jesus, I feel unsettled. I can't name every fear, but I know you see them. Be my strength in this silence. Be my light in this fog. Walk with me through this hour, this moment, this breath. That is your sacred beginning. That is your Psalm 23 path. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Yes, even this one. Especially this one. The God who anoints your head with oil in the presence of your enemies is the same God who breathes peace over your soul in the presence of silent fear. You don't need a resolution to receive that peace. You only need to pause, to receive the quiet reminder that mercy is not a maybe, it's a guarantee. God's goodness is not passive, it's pursuing you. Every moment, every breath, even now. Take a moment to pause and check in with your heart. What low-level fear has been humming in the background of your thoughts? Where have you tried to outrun your unease instead of offering it to God? And what might shift if you truly believed that angels were already guarding your emotional path today? Declare these truths aloud, like a shield over your spirit. God is guarding all my ways. His presence is greater than my present. I may not know the future, but I know the one who holds it. These declarations are not wishful thinking. They are weapons of the Spirit. They are how you push back against the hum of anxiety, not by shouting over it, but by speaking truth into it. Truth that anchors, truth that heals, truth that carries. You are not stepping into this day alone. You are stepping into divine presence, angelic protection, and supernatural peace. And that peace, quiet, steady, strong, will go with you, guard you, and keep you every step of the way. There's a particular kind of anxiety that doesn't scream. It simply sits in your chest like a weight you can't name. You wake and everything looks fine, but your soul feels restless. It's not fear of something specific. It's a quiet dread of everything and nothing at once. A fog that clouds your confidence and numbs your joy. You go through your motions, but your spirit drifts. In that drifting, God calls softly, "Return to me." Not because you've wandered far, but because your focus has. Psalm 91 isn't just a shield for crises. It's a home for the weary, even when you can't explain why you're tired. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. That abide is what your soul craves. Not a fix, not a breakthrough, just room to breathe and belong again. Even in the fog, you don't need the perfect words to return to God. Some of the most powerful prayers are silent. Romans 8 reminds us that the Spirit Himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. Your mind may be blank, but your heart can still connect. Dr. Anita Phillips says, God is not afraid of your silence. He hears what your heart cannot say. That's why these 5 minutes matter. Not because you need insight, but because you need sacred interruption, a holy pause. Jesus isn't waiting for your eloquence. He's already near, listening, sensing the difference between fear and fatigue. He knows how to restore in ways no coffee or affirmation ever could. Begin now, simply, Lord, I don't have words. I only have a need. I open my hands to receive your presence. Cover my confusion with your clarity. Fill the spaces where I feel absent from myself. That prayer shifts atmospheres, not just around you, but within you. Philippians 4 tells us that God's peace will guard your heart and mind. That means peace isn't just a nice idea. It's an active shield. You don't create it. You dwell in it. Psalm 23 says, He restores my soul. Restoration isn't performance. It's willingness to sit with the healer. Even when you feel numb, your willingness to stay becomes a pathway back to life. Pope Leo the Cantors wrote, "God can resurrect the soul before the body ever rises." That is happening now. Resurrection in stillness. Take a moment to breathe, sense your weariness, and ask yourself, where have I accepted numbness as normal? What part of me have I silenced that God still wants to hear? What if you believed He wants to be with you even when you're spiritually dull? Speak these truths slowly into your spirit. God meets me even when I feel distant. My value isn't based on emotional clarity, it's rooted in God's unwavering love. Even in fog, I am never outside of His reach. These aren't just comforting slogans, they recalibrate your soul. Let them carry you forward, not perfectly, but present. In that presence, you will find your peace again, not because everything is clear, but because you're no longer walking alone. Some mornings carry a weight that isn't new, it's inherited. Leftover pressure from yesterday, unspoken fears from last week, the invisible accumulation of concerns that never found closure. You wake not to crisis, but to a kind of quiet burden that greets you before your eyes even open. It's not loud, it's not urgent, but it's there. A hum of heaviness in your chest, a swirl of what-ifs you didn't invite, and in that moment, God doesn't demand clarity, He offers shelter. Psalm 91 whispers, He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. This isn't symbolic poetry, it's divine intervention. You don't need to wake with strength. You need to wake held in the sigh, in the stillness, in the stretch of uncertainty. That's where God covers you, right now, as you are. It's easy to confuse preparation with worry, caution with control. You think, if I just plan harder, I'll feel safer. But Jesus disrupts that belief gently but firmly in Matthew 6:34. Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. That's not dismissal, it's deliverance. It's Jesus saying you don't have to pre-fight battles that haven't come. Grace has a boundary. It is drawn at today, not next week, not when you get it together. Today is sacred, and you are invited to dwell in it, not sprint past it. Psalm 23 confirms this truth. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Even in the fog, even in the fatigue, even when your only prayer is a sigh. That sigh is sacred. That sigh reaches heaven. That sigh says, God, I need you. Let your prayer be a breath, not a performance. God, I give you my mornings that feel like morning. I give you the tension that beats before the tasks. I give you the thoughts I haven't sorted and the emotions I haven't named. Teach me how to dwell, not rush, not fix, just dwell. Dr. Anita Phillips teaches that emotional honesty is where spiritual healing begins. That means you don't have to get over it before you give it to God. You just have to bring it, and in that act of surrender, not once, but again and again if needed, He begins to unravel anxiety not by force, but by faithful presence. The fruit of that presence isn't immediate productivity, it's peace. A rhythm that rewires your nervous system, your breath, your perspective. Not all at once, but one sacred pause at a time. So pause now. Reflect. What fear are you wearing like clothing today? What pressure have you mistaken for purpose? What future burden are you dragging into this present grace? Name them. Then interrupt them with truth. Declare aloud or in your spirit, today's peace is already mine. God governs my schedule, not anxiety. I release tomorrow into God's sovereign hands. These affirmations aren't denial, they are direction. They steer your heart back to the shepherd. They remind your spirit what your body forgot. You are not the one holding it all together. You are the one being held. And in that divine embrace, your sigh becomes strength, your silence becomes sanctuary, and your mourning becomes holy ground. You are not walking into chaos, you are waking under covering, and that is more than enough, because He is more than enough. Some mornings it's not fear that greets you, it's fatigue. Not from a sleepless night or an overbooked schedule, but from the long, quiet ache of waiting. Waiting for peace to last, waiting for prayers to be answered, waiting for God to move in ways your eyes can see. And somewhere in that wait, your soul grows tender, your heart feels fragile, and hope starts to feel like a risk. You're not doubting God's existence, you're just trying to shield your heart from one more disappointment. So you lower your expectations, not out of disbelief, but out of emotional self-preservation. But even here, God speaks. Psalm 91 rises like a promise over your tired spirit. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. This isn't vague, it's a covenant, a declaration that God is not finished with your story. He's not dangling hope like a carrot. He's offering real, lasting deliverance. Not because you're strong, but because you're his. This is where anxiety hides in the clothing of realism. You begin to think that playing it safe is spiritual, that silence is surrender, that hoping again might break what little resolve you have left. But Matthew 11:28-30 gently corrects that belief. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened. Take my yoke upon you, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. It's not that Jesus erases your reality, he just carries it differently. He doesn't hand you empty inspiration. He offers himself, a pace you can keep, a rhythm that aligns with your humanity. Lisa Bevere said it perfectly. God's strength shows up in the places where you're out of your own. So if you're out of ideas, out of faith, out of stamina, you are standing at the threshold of grace. You're not behind. You're exactly where divine strength begins to flow. Let today's prayer be a soft exhale, a vulnerable surrender. Jesus, I am weary of wondering when, tired of carrying silent hope, but I place my heart in your hands again. Stir my faith, strengthen my trust. Carry me through what I can't carry alone. That's not giving up. That's resurrection. That's Psalm 23 reality. Even though I walk through the valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, not above the valley, not at the end of it, but in it, with you, beside you, holding space for the tension between your faith and your frustration. As T.D. Jakes said, when it looks like nothing is happening, everything is happening. Underground, in silence, in preparation. What feels like stillness is not stagnation, it's setup. God is preparing you, not punishing you. Now pause, take a breath deeper than comfort allows. Ask yourself, where have I stopped hoping because it hurt too much? What dreams have I buried out of self-protection? What if today isn't about fixing everything, but simply about opening your heart again? Speak these truths softly, like seeds into soil. God has not forgotten me. My waiting is not wasted. Peace and purpose are being planted even now. These words are not wishful. They are warfare. They reclaim your spirit from despair and anchor it in divine timing. Let them shape your posture today, not one of panic, but of presence. Not one of pressure, but of peace. You are not overlooked. You are not alone. You are not late, you are being formed. And even here, even now, even in the silence, God is still moving, faithfully, quietly, powerfully. Some mornings, it's not fear that greets you, it's fatigue. Not from crisis, but from the quiet weight of waiting. Waiting for peace to stay. Waiting for answers to arrive. Waiting to stop waiting. And in that stillness, hope can feel fragile. Like something too heavy to carry one more day. So you lower your expectations, not out of disbelief, but to protect your heart from more disappointment. And the enemy whispers, this isn't doubt, it's just realism. But realism without faith is just rehearsed fear. That's why Psalm 91 speaks so powerfully to the weary soul. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. That's not divine delay, it's divine assurance. God isn't dangling hope like a carrot. He's holding it out like an anchor. Healing, help, and wholeness are not far off. They are near. and they begin not with striving, but with surrender. In the first 5 minutes you give to God, as you sit, breathe, and whisper, even tired, I believe, heaven begins to move. Matthew 11:28-30 offers a personal invitation to every weary heart. Come to me. Take my yoke upon you. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. The promise isn't the removal of burdens, it's the reshaping of how you carry them. Jesus doesn't deny the valley. He walks it with you. He doesn't ask for strength you don't have. He offers his. He steadies your soul with divine pace, not pressure. Lisa Bevere reminds us, God's strength shows up in the places where you're out of your own. So if you're out of strength, out of faith, out of clarity, you are in the perfect place for grace to flow. Let this morning be your holy rebellion against dread. Let it be the moment you choose not to push through but to rest into, not to demand answers, but to accept presence. Let this be your prayer, not as a performance, but as a return. Jesus, I'm tired of wondering when. I'm weary of hoping in silence. But I place my heart in your hands again. Strengthen my hope. Stir my faith. Carry me where I cannot go alone. This is not a giving up, it is resurrection. It is Psalm 23 in action. Even though I walk through the valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, not only at the end of the valley, with you in it, right now, in the middle, in the wait, in the wondering. And while it may look like nothing is happening, T.D. Jakes reminds us everything is happening. Underground, in silence, in preparation. You're not stalled, you're being shaped. What feels like delay is actually divine development. Now pause, really pause. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, where have I stopped hoping because I feared being hurt again? What promise have I quietly shelved that God is ready to unwrap? What would shift if you believed that the waiting itself is holy ground? Speak these truths over your heart like sacred seeds. God has not forgotten me. My waiting is not wasted. Peace and purpose are being planted, even now. These aren't just affirmations, they are anchors. Let them stabilize your morning. Let them lift your chin. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. And even in the stillness, especially in the stillness, God is faithful. Some mornings carry a strange ache, not fear, not anger, but a quiet sadness that lingers without a name. It rests behind your eyes, in your chest, in your breath. You don't know exactly what triggered it. Maybe it's unspoken griefs, old losses, dreams that quietly died, or prayers that feel like they were swallowed by the sky. And in that haze of heaviness, you ask, does God even see this? Psalm 91 responds with a whisper of reassurance. He will call on me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. God is not waiting for you to craft the perfect prayer. He's waiting for your reach. Even if all you can offer is a sigh, even if your soul can only manage silence, God hears it. Heaven moves at the sound of your surrender. He comes close, not because you're strong, but because you are his. That's all it takes. That's the miracle of grace. A heart cracked open is an altar, and a tear on your cheek is a prayer he honors. Psalm 23 enters this space too. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. The valley isn't always death, it's the heaviness of discouragement, the quiet ache of disappointment, the haunting silence of unanswered questions. But the promise stands firm, you are with me. Not ahead of me, not waiting for me to catch up. With me, right here, walking at my pace, sitting with me in the ache, not in judgment, but in love. Pope Leo the Catholic said, the Lord does not wait for your perfection to draw near. He becomes your perfection while he walks beside your imperfection. That's the reality of this morning. God isn't waiting for you to pull it together. He's stepping into the fog to be near. Dr. Anita Phillips teaches, sadness is not sin, it's an invitation to be comforted. So let yourself be comforted. Don't apologize for the ache. Don't mask it with spiritual busyness. Let God meet you there. Pray honestly, even quietly. God, I bring you the ache I can't explain. I bring you the tears I don't understand. Wrap me in your nearness. Whisper truth to my soul. Help me feel what I need to feel, without shame, and then lead me into peace. This isn't a prayer for immediate resolution. It's a sacred acknowledgement. You are allowing God to walk with you in the slowness. You are inviting peace to move at the speed of trust. D.D. Jakes reminds us, your tears are not a weakness. They are evidence that you are still alive and still growing. Let them fall. Let them water what God is planting in you, because something is being planted, even if you can't see it yet. Even in silence, healing is happening. Not rushed, not loud, but deeply. Now, reflect with gentleness. What emotion have you kept buried that God wants to carry? What heaviness have you mislabeled as failure when it was really a cry for comfort? And what if the most spiritual thing you could do today is simply feel what you feel in the presence of God? Speak these truths to yourself, slowly and intentionally. God is near to my brokenness. I am safe to feel and be held. Even in the ache, I am covered by grace. These words aren't strategies, they are sacred reminders. Let them guide your steps. Let them soften your edges. Let them bring breath back into places you thought were numb. You are not walking into emptiness. You are walking into embrace. And in that embrace, there is no shame, no pressure, no need to perform, just love, just healing, just God.